I'm warning you, they're testing what they can get away with. Stop saying that you won't do it. No, I'm not. I'm not saying I won't do it. This is clear-cut defamation.
Hasan Piker is crashing out online again, but this time he's threatening lawsuits. Hey guys, welcome back to the show, your home for independent and nonpartisan commentary and analysis on politics, media, internet insanity, and more. This one has a bit of all the above, I guess you could say. Now, if you're new here, you might not know this about me, but I am an OG Hasan Piker hater, referring, of course, to the far-left, socialist, unhinged streamer and influencer who has, said too many violent and incendiary and radical things to list. However, I'm also somebody who always believes in being fair, sticking to the facts, and the truth. So I'm going to give you an honest take about this controversy that's unfolding right now, regardless of my feelings about Hasan Piker, because Hasan Piker is threatening to sue for defamation Scott Jennings, the very famous and very popular and controversial, depending on your perspective, CNN commentator who is a Trump-supporting Republican. Now, Scott Jennings also hosts a radio show where he talked about Hasan, and that's where this controversy comes in. Disclaimer, I've met Scott a couple times, debated with him, challenged him on a few perspectives. He was nice, got nothing against him personally. Anyway, we're going to litigate this in this video and go through the accusations and see whether or not Hasan's playing the victim wrongly or whether he actually has a legitimate complaint. Here is Scott Jennings' tweet from August 11th that set this all off. Abdul El-Sayed, referring to the Michigan Senate candidate, his best pal and campaign partner says the USA should resume lynchings against black people. Listen for yourself and understand what the socialists have in store for the black community. Of course, lynching is the historical practice of extrajudicially killing black people in a racist mob by hanging them in public. So that's a pretty serious accusation to make against somebody. Let's watch the clip attached from his radio show where he backs this up. Let's watch.
We continue today our exploration of the radical socialist streamer Hasan Piker. Now, he's Abdul El-Sayed's best friend, and he campaigns for him all the time. And African Americans out there, within the sound of my voice, need to listen up, and you must listen carefully. This is who socialists like Abdul El-Sayed choose to keep for company. Just listen to this. Hasan Piker in Cut 8.
I don't give a what black people care about. Oh, black people care about this, black people care about that. Like, shut the up. That's not how politics works. Oh, well, Hasan, how dare you? Like it or not, black people care about this issue. It's like, it's such a stupid stance.
Any other black folk want to engage in radical activist language in this chat? Suck my
I'll just pause here to say, he really is so lovely, so chill, so stable. Now, you should note, we've already seen this is a compilation spliced together from like 3 different live streams. But he does have this unhinged manner where he flies off the handle and goes on these vulgar and expletive-filled rants. But now we're going to get to the part where he allegedly, according to Scott Jennings, suggested black people should be lynched. Listen very carefully.
Yes, dude. It's because I'm racist. That's why. It's because I'm racist, dude. Go back to a better time when lynchings were happening. This is what I like as a black man. Are you always doing too much with black people? Leave them alone. I want to go back to lynching. Like, I get it, but relax. Man, shut the up, okay? You got me, okay? You got me, because I'm a racist person.
So I'll just say this. This jumps out to me immediately. 2 things. When he says all of this, I mean, that last part's very clearly to me sarcastic. But he says, yes, go back to lynchings. As a black man, that's what I want. Well, he's not a black man. And to me, his tone of voice is very clearly sarcastic. So I don't, first off, we have no context for that clip. I'll bring you the context in a moment. But what I'll say is that does not even sound to me, just at face value, as him unironically suggesting, like serious face, we should lynch black people. It certainly doesn't. And I try to approach these things fairly, despite my personal disdain and really disgust at Hasan Piker's entire ideology and belief system. I still try to be fair and honest. And then the second part of that, he's actually very clearly reading a chatter who is referencing his earlier comments. And then he's again sarcastic saying, I'm racist. I know I'm racist. So it's like, yeah, it's all part of his unhinged nature and the way he flies off the handle in these chats. But I personally would not interpret that literally. Yet Scott seems to in the rest of this clip. Listen up.
You just heard campaigns all the time for Abdul El-Sayed in Michigan. He campaigns for other Democrats around the country. Every black voter in this country needs to listen to this. And if you look at these Democratic primaries, black voters have been voting against the socialists, only to be overruled in many cases by young, privileged white commies. Might these black voters find a home in the Republican Party this fall? Well, if Democratic campaigns are adopting the Piker plan of returning our country to lynchings, that just might happen. Did you ever notice, by the way, how violent these people are? You have Jewish Americans say they're feeling constantly threatened by El-Sayed supporters. Now El-Sayed's best friend is out there calling for black voters to be lynched.
So again, I am a huge critic of Hasan Piker, and I've called out his, at times, extremely violent and unhinged rhetoric. But the idea that he has ever, unironically, or somehow his position is that he wants to return to the lynching of black people is just totally obviously not a correct interpretation of his statements to me, and it also makes no sense at face value. If anything, Hasan Piker is hyper woke when it comes to social issues. He supports things like slavery reparations, I imagine, and he defends a lot of the far left DEI stuff. So it's like this makes no sense at face value. And it's extremely clear that this compilation that Scott Jennings plays is out of context. Now, that doesn't always mean that the actual context changes the meaning. Sometimes Hasan's supporters say, well, that clip's out of context. But then when you go look at the actual context, in context, he said exactly what's expressed in the clip or the general gist. But this is not one of those situations. So this is from X. At Grok, is Jennings taking Hasan Piker's words out of context? Grok, which is Elon Musk's chatbot, replies, yes. The full clip shows Hasan calling the return to better times idea a stupid stance, specifically because those eras included lynchings. He was mocking nostalgia for the past, not advocating for resuming them. Jennings frames the isolated line as a call to resume lynchings against black people, which reverses the actual meaning. So I do agree with this. The clip pulled excerpts from 3 different streams and spliced them together in like a 20-second package. The first mention of lynching, clearly sarcastic to me. The second mention is him reading a comment, then referencing it and mocking the whole thing. And then I went and actually found, where is this even from, where he said this? And essentially, so Piker is reacting to a Jubilee debate video, reading here. Piker presses play on a Jubilee debate video showing black conservative commentator Xavier DeRusso, who says we have all of these woke DAs who are putting forth policies. Piker then pauses the video and laughs, then mocks DeRusso, saying the following. He said, we need more Klansmen as DAs, okay? Can we go back to a better time when lynchings were happening? This is what I like as a black man. Also, there's no real racism in America. My man said, woke DAs, dude. What are you saying? Now listen, there's a lot to disagree with in that clip, and I can't stand Hasan Piker's style in general. He always comes off as so bad faith and unhinged, but he's very clearly being sarcastic. So to splice out that 3 seconds where he says, can we go back to a better time when lynchings were happening? This is what I like as a black man. And then insert it somewhere as if it's somehow like a non-ironic advocacy for that position is totally wrong. Totally bad faith, objectively factually incorrect. And I do think Scott Jennings should not be running with that claim. I think it's false and unfair and that he should retract it and apologize. Now, that said, does it rise to the level of illegal defamation? That I don't know. That's a very high bar to meet when you are a public figure, and out of context comments or misstating someone's position is only defamation if you can prove that it was done with actual malice, including and or with a reckless disregard for the truth. And so if Jennings was just being sloppy and just saw this compilation shared somewhere and took it at face value, I mean, that would, at least in my lay opinion, People do that all the time, and I'm not sure that really rises to the legal threshold for a defamation lawsuit, but Hasan Piker apparently plans to sue Scott Jennings. He's made this very clear, both on his stream and on social media. Let's watch a clip of him discussing this.
They're testing how insane they can get before you hit them with a lawsuit. I'm warning you, they're testing what they can get away with. Stop saying that you won't do it. No, I'm not. I'm not saying I won't do it. I think this is consequential. This is clear-cut. This is clear-cut defamation. He's showing your clip. He's just showing your clips. How will you prove intent? Great question. Great question. I already gave you the example, right? If I were to say, I love black people and I hate when people hate black people, and they cut it down to make it seem like I was saying I hate black people, that's obviously defamation. It's not my position at all. They're trying to say that I'm racist. They're trying to say that I'm pro-lynching. That's insane. That's an insane assertion to make, especially if there's enough evidence of these guys in the past criticizing my commentary being too pro-black, right? And that probably isn't that hard to find, because I've been around the block for a very long time.
Yeah, so I mean that's an interesting question, whether they will be able, if they go through with the lawsuit, to find clips of Scott Jennings or others at Salem Radio or what have you, talking about how radical, pro-woke Hasan is, and then they could suggest, well, you should have known better than to blindly assert this. And honestly, I can't speak to the legal threshold or analyze the case to any great degree of certainty, but I'm always very skeptical of defamation claims in general from public figures, because the bar is legally so incredibly high, and for good reason, and you very rarely see them succeed. But, and also I think Scott Jennings, the actual clip compilation, at least the furthest I could track it to, was actually a compilation made by a Republican-aligned political account. So Scott Jennings and his producers didn't make this compilation, and ignorance can be a defense from defamation. Like, if it's an honest mistake, like I thought this was correct and we said it, and unless you can prove a total disregard for the truth. Right. So who knows? I don't know if that will legally succeed, but I do think in the spirit of fairness and in calling balls and strikes that this is not fair towards Hasan. He very clearly does not stand for lynching black people. That's not a thing. And once again, it's like you water down the so many legitimate criticisms that can be made of this person, and how crazy it is that mainstream Democratic politicians are embracing him and campaigning with him, by spreading lies and by crying wolf on things he doesn't actually believe or say. It discredits the actual opposition and legitimate criticisms that can be made. So I do think Scott Jennings should retract that claim and apologize. That said, I think there's also an interesting level, a layer to this as well. I want to read you a tweet from Sam Antar on X. Hasan Piker threatening libel lawsuits against his critics is pretty funny. Libel litigation is expensive. Discovery is invasive. Depositions are under oath. Lawyers start digging through years of statements, messages, and financial records. For a guy who makes his living attacking other people, he may want to think very carefully about how badly he wants everyone examining his record. And I think this is an interesting point, that a lot could come out if this was to actually proceed with litigation. And I'm not sure. Like, think of how unhinged Hasan is on his streams. Now imagine what he's texting and emailing behind the scenes. And a lot of that, it's probably way worse. And it's probably, he probably doesn't want that coming out. So listen, maybe he'll sue Scott Jennings. Maybe he won't. I'm not necessarily sure what the final outcome there will be. But I do think that facts matter and truth matters. And I will stand up in defense of that, even when it comes to figures that I find reprehensible in every way, like Hasan Piker. That's just my take on the situation. You guys will have to let me know what you think in the comments below. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you aren't yet, and do hit that like button to reward my suffering through this insane world of content and drama slop, and consider becoming a channel member by hitting the join button or clicking the link in the description. It's the best way to support my content, and my independent style doesn't get you quite the same fanfare or attention as a Scott Jennings or a Hasan Piker, but hey, that's how I like to do it, so I do need support from viewers like you. Become a channel member if you can. With that, guys, we'll leave it there for now and be back with more real soon.